Welcome to the Pastor's Podcast. This is Pastor Scott, and with me today, we have a kind of a special podcast today, is Pastor José, and one of each of our daughters. So
That's right.
Sara Gonzalez is with us.
Hello.
Hi, Sara. And Addison Mehl is with us.
Hello.
And they're going to be unpacking the complexities of the universe with us and solving all of the world's problems.
Nice.
Yeah.
I didn't know I didn't know it was that complicated.
You didn't. Oh wait, you didn't think that's why we brought you on? To like
That sounds
solve it?
hardcore.
That sounds hard. All right, maybe we'll save that for your second podcast. You know, we'll start a little bit easier today.
All right.
And today, well, I just thought it'd be helpful to get a little bit of, we've been on the podcast at different times getting diverse perspectives and hearing a little bit from their perspective, and particularly about this unique season. And I know this has been a unique season for all of us. It's particularly been a unique season for kids, for youth, for you guys. And I actually just thought that it would be really fun to have both of you, because you both are very fun thinkers and conversationalists, and thought this would be enjoyable. So we're going to give it a try. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
Perfect. So, why don't we actually introduce each of you? We'll start with you, Addison. How old are you? What grade are you in? What school do you go to?
Okay, hi, I'm Addison. I'm 12 years old, and I'm in 7th grade, and I'm going to Culver City Middle School.
All right.
Virtually.
You're going virtually.
Yes.
Exactly. You haven't been to Culver City Middle School this year, but
No.
you're going. All right. What about you, Sara?
Hi, my name is Sarah. I am 16 years old, and I am a senior at New West Charter High School.
I was telling your dad the other day, like, you're a senior. Like, that's kind of my. So you're applying to colleges and stuff.
Yeah.
Right now. So that's exciting. That's probably like a whole nother podcast and conversation we'll have to have. But how's the beginning of essays and applications been going?
It's kind of stressful. I have a lot to do, and luckily, if you look at it from a positive perspective with the pandemic and everything, we do have less time actually like doing school instruction, so I do have more time to do like work on my essays and work on college apps and stuff like that, but it's definitely more stressful.
For sure.
Yeah. For
sure. These aren't even my questions, but I want to know, Jose, what's that like as a dad?
It is.
Is it stressful, or is it just kind of like, no, she's got to do the work?
Well, she's doing all the work. It's to me, it's very good question. I haven't actually thought about it. let me gather my thoughts here. To me, I'm trying to see how I can guide her, how I can support her, and also I'm very encouraged to see what God is doing in Sarah's life and how she is a self-initiator. I mean, she pursues all these things, and but also sometimes she has these times that it's normal, where the stress goes, and you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's worth applying here. I might not get in. So right now, I'm just trying to come alongside and support her and tell her that, listen, at the end of the day, God has a place for you, and it will be what it will be.
I think that's a good reminder for all of us, right? Especially right now. With, I mean, you're doing college applications. Lots of people are doing job applications. Housing applications. There's all sorts of things that bring. I think that's a lesson we have to learn over and over and over again. So obviously, I think sometimes when we think about not being together as the church family, that we all think of that from our own perspective. I'd love to hear just from you girls, what do you miss most about not being able to gather as the church? I mean, I think we know what we think as pastors, but what's that experience been like for you, and maybe what are some of the things you miss most?
You want to go first, Daddy?
Sure. Okay. I think it's definitely the loss of community. Like when we're not gathering as a church, right? We know that we're still gathering spiritually, but there's still that loss when you're not seeing other people worshiping with you. I feel like that sort of leaves a hole. So that's one of the things that I miss most, having like a in-person gatherings. But the communion services that we have are really great because we're able to see each other.
It's like a little taste of it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, totally. What did you, Sarah?
Yeah, kind of like what Addie said. Probably what I missed the most would be the fellowship aspect, because I never really appreciated the church in this way until we stopped going physically to church. But I realized that the community it's very especially when it comes to your relationship with Jesus, it's very encouraging and it's very uplifting. And, when you go out into the world and you tell them, hey, I have a relationship with Jesus, most likely they're not going to be as encouraging or uplifting. So it's just kind of, you get torn down by the world and you have Jesus to help you. But also I think that a really important part of that encouragement is having fellow believers encourage you. God uses them as well, so now we're kind of missing that.
That's really I think we think about that as adults a lot, but even for you guys to think about the fact that it highlights the fact that both of you, in your normal day are at school every day, are most of the people you're surrounded by aren't Christian.
Right. Definitely not.
Yeah. And so that community is so much more it provides that anchor and that reminder, that uplifting, and the type of thing that is, I think, easy for all of us to take for granted. Yeah. And maybe this is related to that, but what's the hardest part about being stuck at home besides your dad's? Addison's looking at me like there's no besides, like it's just my dad. Wait, what do you think, Sarah? What's been...
Probably, one of the more obvious aspects that have been difficult would be the fact that there's any sort of socialization outside of your family. I didn't realize I was such a social person until I couldn't meet with people. And so that's been kind of hard. And I think that lately I've been kind of running to people for comfort. That's what that's what I would used to do, but now I'm learning more to run to God for comfort instead of just depending on people, because now it's kind of hard to just depend on people. So yeah.
And sometimes the brothers are not that ready
to be the ones there
to
for
be
comfort.
The ones to yes, exactly. So
yeah, it kind of it's a kind of a season that changes your relationships with your siblings too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's it been like for you, Addison?
Well, I've always loved to socialize with people, so now it's just upping the level of how much I'm missing that. But so yeah, I agree with Sarah. It's a lot harder.
Is Zoom the same?
No, it's not the same. Not at all. But I feel like it's a lot harder to socialize with people over the internet. I never really got how you actually do that, because I never used to do that before the pandemic, so it's been a tough turn for me. But yeah, definitely the thing that I miss is being able to socialize with people. But it also builds a stronger relationship with your family, even if there can be more tension at times. Because I feel like you build a stronger trust with your family when you're with them all the time. And they're the people that you have to turn to.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, I really appreciate that. My next question was going to be, what are some maybe surprising blessings in this process? But you've both already mentioned one, right? Both the fact that it makes you turn to God, right? It makes you turn to your family. There's these unique dynamics about that. How for you, and maybe even for you and for other friends and things how has this season impacted your faith? Has it brought up questions, made things more confusing, made something simpler or clearer? What's I don't know, when you think about how you're going to look back on this season and the way it's shaped your faith and really your relationship with God, how has that played out for you in this season?
Well, I think it's made us have to test our faith in the way that we have to believe that God is still in control, even through all of this, which can sometimes be hard. But when you think about it, the world hasn't ended yet, even though some people may view the pandemic as the world ending, but it's like God's still in control, and we have to believe that he's still watching over us, and he still knows what's going on. So even if we don't know what's going on, even if we can't figure out what the vaccine is or how we're supposed to help everybody, but God knows how. So we have to make sure that we're not putting our faith in all of our faith in science and waiting for something to happen that's gonna change everything, because the only thing that can really happen is if God chooses. So
yeah, it's a powerful lesson, I think, for all of us. What about for you, Sarah?
Well, so it's kind of interesting. That's a good question, because at first, when the pandemic started, and I mean, in the beginning when it was gaining a lot of momentum and there's just everything was going on, it was very overwhelming. And I think that at first, rather than run to God, I kind of like turned away a little bit, because I was kind of like, why is this happening? Like, I was just so confused, and I didn't know what to do exactly, because I guess my support system of like going to people wasn't really working anymore. So then I kind of had to start turning more to God, which has become a little easier now, but it was kind of hard at first, because I mean, I had gone to God before, but not as much. Like now I'm like definitely more dependent on God, which I think is a good thing. So, yeah.
And that's very interesting that you're saying that. I haven't heard you say that. But it does reflect, I notice now that as time has passed, that you seem to be more peaceful, more like, even though that you don't have to have a handle of the situation, that you're trusting God, and it's visible in your behavior. So it's just amazing to be able to see that what God is doing in your life.
It's and I think all of a sudden we see in all these different ways, right, that God is using this and redeeming it in way to bring about these truths that maybe we didn't think about or have to wrestle with before,
right?
In different ways, in different seasons, or even at different points in our lives, particularly if you've never experienced anything like this before. So I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on kind of like a voice to parents in our church family. Like what do you think parents should know about their kids' experience during this time? I mean, you could either speak to, what parents should know about, the teenager experience, or even what parents maybe should know that they could easily forget about young kids' experience as you think about your siblings and things like that. You could, in a veiled way, just tell us as your dads what you wish we knew and could remember, because we keep forgetting. What do you think would be helpful for parents who are trying to navigate this season with their kids to remember, or even just to know about their kids' experience?
Well, I think something that's very important, and actually my parents do a very good job of this, is just having someone just to listen, because during this season it can be very overwhelming, and sometimes you don't know exactly what to say. Sometimes I don't know. I think it's very important, though, that when, like, if you do share with your parents how you're feeling, you make it clear, like, hey, I'm just gonna go ahead and, like, vent myself right now, so that you don't, like, upset anybody, because sometimes if you don't say that you're venting, it can get some people upset. But just to say, like, I just really need someone to listen right now, and just just so that I can know that someone is there to listen.
That's a good reminder for both of us.
This is something that I had to learn very quickly, because my tendency as a dad is to, where's the problem? I'll solve it. I have all the solutions. And then I realized, and talking with Sarah and with Becky, and that it was just more listening, just venting, having somebody to listen to you what you're going through. So that's something that we're learning and continue to learn.
I think also, like, particularly for me, because I'm a very verbal processor. like the way that I think is just through talking. So sometimes even just talking helps me kind of figure out the solution along the way as well. And having someone just to listen and just, you know, maybe help you with that is really helpful. So yeah.
Yeah, I really relate to that because your dad knows too. I'm very much a verbal processor.
Yes, it's true. It's true.
Addison knows as well too. I like to talk, and you know, this is why I start sentences and then don't finish them, because you know,
Mom says that your mind goes too fast.
My mind goes too fast.
That's what Mom says.
Yeah, or my mouth.
It's
goes
true
too
too. Not the mind.
That's
The mind.
right. So,
Both.
but because and I think in this time, that's something I've missed. I know I've missed that a lot, not being around people and able to process through things the same way. And I think that we can miss the fact that our kids miss that too, and that they can't process with peers in the same way.
Yeah.
And so they're left with us, right? Or their siblings. I mean, what do you think, Addison?
Well, yeah, it's sort of like what you said, but to acknowledge that, like, kids, a lot of the time, especially during this time, they're facing a lot of the same problems as adults, as their parents, whether that's like stress or confusion or just like wondering why everything is happening. So the fact that you can remember that you can relate to your kids, especially during this time, like, it doesn't have to be something that the kid is gonna tell you the problem and then you're gonna solve the problem. But I think it's more like you have the same problem as your kid, and so now you guys have to work this out together, where it's benefiting both of you, and so you know that you both want a change in something, and you can both work that out together. Yeah,
that's so helpful. And I don't know what it is about being a parent that makes you like feel like you're supposed to have it together, or you're supposed to have the answers. And I mean, I feel like this has been true in our experience, that the moments when I confess and admit I don't have it together, and either have to ask for forgiveness or have to like wrestle through things together, are actually sometimes the most helpful because it recognizes that we're both human, right? And we don't have it all together. We can't totally figure it out. What about, so, you know, I know you both had the spring, and now you've had, you know, a month in or something like that. Who can keep track of time at this point? More than a month? What? How much? How long has it been now that you've been in school this
year?
Yeah.
Well, we started in. We started in. When did we start?
See, this is my point.
Wait, okay, we started August, and now it's September. It's been like 2 months.
All right, it feels like forever. Regardless, it feels like forever. So my question is there anything that you have either learned or realized in your experience that, like, if you could tell other kids, hey, this is helpful, right? It's helpful when I do this, or when I don't do this, or when I remember this, or when I, you know, I don't know. Are there any tips for Zoom learning for other kids?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think especially for older kids, if like you're not able to understand something, or like you're just like really, really stressed out, some people like start to freak out, and then like they keep on freaking out, because like that's just what you do when you're confused, is you like panic because it's like dramatic.
Yeah.
And you're a teenager, so that's just what you do. But I find it a lot easier to just like take a step back and like not freak out and view the problem through a different perspective. If you view it like through like a Christian perspective, and you know like God's always in control, so you don't have to be. I know for me, I like to have everything sorted out. You know, I wouldn't call it perfectionism, but it's something along those lines. But so it's helpful to just like take a step back and remember God's in control, so I don't have to be.
Cool. That's super helpful. Any tips for you, Sarah?
Yeah, I'd say actually kind of similar to what Addie just said about like especially taking a step back, because I realize that sometimes when I'm just doing my independent work and I'm realizing, oh, I have so much to do, and I get like super overwhelmed, sometimes what I need to do is I just need to like take a break, and sometimes I'll literally just go in my closet, which is like devoid of any sort of like sensory stimulation, and I'll just sit and pray and read the Bible, and and that actually really helps. It puts things into perspective a lot, I think, because sometimes we just get trapped in our own little like world of what we need to do, and we forget that there's like a whole world going on around us that God has intricately planned and intricately put thought into, and that we are a part of, and that even if we don't necessarily have it together, God is still going to make it work. We just got to like trust that that'll happen.
Yeah. That's super helpful. I think I might use my closet that way. I'm like, that's a great idea.
Well, I have another tip.
Okay.
This
Another tip?
is more of a literal tip, but
Okay.
if you're on Zoom and you get booted off, you don't have to panic, because chances are 3 other people are getting booted off at the same time as you.
Okay.
So it's not like you're the only person who's missing 10 minutes of class because your computer doesn't work and because your Wi-Fi shuts down all the time. So now you need a new computer.
Hey, okay. I fixed the Wi-Fi. Now we're angling for a computer. I see what's going on here.
The Wi-Fi literally does not work.
Well, the Wi-Fi is faster, but you need a faster computer too.
Apparently,
that's the connection.
This is what I'm hearing.
But I'm pretty sure when your computer says no Wi-Fi, it means it doesn't work.
But what I heard you just say is that you should remember that there's probably 3 other kids that are getting booted off too. So it's, it happens.
Well, but if you're getting booted off 5 times,
That was rough.
Yeah.
That was rough.
It's not good.
Okay. All right. So, so not only is this difficult for us, right? Difficult for you as kids, but I think this season, I know we've all kind of in different iterations talked about how this is particularly difficult for certain people in our city, certain people in our country, even certain people in our church family, who the technology doesn't come as easy for, who maybe they're trying to navigate this with their kids, but their first language isn't English, and so like understanding the instructions and things like that is particularly difficult, or they have to work and there aren't other options, right? They're trying to figure out how to navigate their kids. I know we've all kind of talked about this a little bit, and even just the tension of that on our hearts. I also know, Sarah, you've tried to do something about this.
Yeah.
You've like seen this and are like trying to figure out how can we help. Why don't you explain kind of what you've been thinking? And I wanted to podcast with you guys about some of these things, and then this idea also popped up, and so I'd love for the opportunity for you just to explain kind of what you're thinking and how we can be involved.
Awesome. So what's in the works right now is I'm going to be directing a one-on-one tutoring program for some of our Cornerstone Espanol family, and it's going to be all over Zoom, like for the time being, because that's just the most practical.
Yep.
And so it's going to be where we're going to get tutors, probably from like our English-speaking family, and we're going to partner them with a student from Cornerstone Espanol, and between the two of them, they're going to work out some sort of like schedule to meet like once a week over Zoom and just work on the students' schoolwork, help like come alongside them, encourage them, and help them with their studies. And also, we're hoping that this will also alleviate some of the stress of the parents, because like you said, right now the parents are having to stay home with the kids. They're having to help them figure out the technology, the school instructions, and some of them, they don't necessarily know how to use the technology as well, or they might not understand the instructions for the schoolwork like the student will. And they also have jobs, and like you said, that's very stressful. So we're kind of trying to like show God's love through alleviating some of that stress for them.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a blessing both that you've seen it and that I think this is such a simple like step forward in a way we can love one another. Do you have any idea how many tutors you're looking for?
It's kind of hard to tell right now because we're
Totally.
still getting students. Like
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
still people who are saying that they're interested.
Figuring out what the need is? Totally.
What would you say, Dad?
Well, I think you have like 9 students so far.
So far, but we're
Okay.
probably
In
gonna get
need.
more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say easily can go between 12 to 15 to start with. The first go.
So do you imagine when you think about it, when you picture it, is what kind of commitment is that? Like, is that like a day, like meeting daily? Is it like meeting every other day, or I mean, I'm sure it's going to depend student to student, but
it will depend student to student, and also it's up to the tutor's discretion as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to set a base like minimum of once a week, but if the tutor sees that the student needs more and they have the time to be able to help them more, then they can set that up and meet more often.
That's perfect. So, and I know that we're looking for just volunteer tutors, right?
Yeah.
People that are like, hey, I can commit to an hour a week to meet with a student, and as needs progress, right? Maybe that's a couple hours, maybe it's a couple of days, but to help them through this, I think we also have in the works, we have conversations about how to help facilitate something similar on campus here, so we can do some in-person stuff.
Right.
But this is like the first step, and I think this is like exactly what we need to do. And so I hadn't even like thought all the way through this, but we're going to release this podcast this week. We should just give people your email address. How about that?
Oh yeah, that works perfectly.
Okay, how about this? If we're just going to turn this into a promo to try to get some volunteers to help in our church family. If that's interests you at all, how can they contact you?
Through email would probably be best.
Okay.
So how would I?
What's your email address?
Okay. I'll
give it
just
to 'em.
say it out loud. It's Sara SARA.Liz. Gonzalez GONZALEZ 24@gmail.com.
All right. So now you can rewind the podcast if you need to write it down.
That's what I usually
Sara
do.
Gonzalez, and here let me tell you two other like super easy ways to do this. Jose, Jose at cornerstonewla.org. You can email him, and he'll get it to. Actually, I'm gonna say, you can email Becky at cornerstonewla.org. I'm gonna get it to her. I'm gonna get it to Sarah quicker. Becky at cornerstonewla.org. You can even just email info at cornerstonewla.org, and we will get it to the right place.
We'll get it. Eventually.
At some point.
But that is, I mean, what a great and perfect opportunity. And I think there's obviously a very real need in our church family. And this is what we're here to do, right? To share with one another, to share what God's entrusted to us with one another. So I'm so thankful that you kind of just took this idea, saw the need, and are making something happen. And so I am confident that we're going to get plenty of help. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't help out. If you're listening, that means you should help out. You are the reason for my confidence. All right. So lastly, if you were going to, if somebody was listening to this in their car with their kids in the back seat, or if they were listening to it in their earbuds and they were going to unplug it so that their kids could listen, and you wanted to give one word of encouragement to other kids in our church family in the midst of everything we're all going through, what would it be?
I think that it's very important that we remember that we are not supposed to put our faith in this world. Like our comfort should not come from the circumstances of this world, but rather from God. We need to, I think, place more of our focus on God rather than our world. And I think that I found that particularly encouraging, at least.
Cool. What do you think, Addison? How about actually? So I think that's super helpful, and I think that's what a lot of us need to hear, particularly some of our youth. Like, it's just a sweet reminder. What about for some of our younger kids? If you're going to leave like a word of encouragement for your younger siblings, for like elementary school age kids as they do this, what would it be? I mean, you could just copy Sarah. That it was pretty good. But like how would you want them to be encouraged? So,
seeing as God doesn't talk through burning bushes as much anymore, the Bible is a great place to turn to. Especially my little brother loves to read Psalms every morning, and I think that's a great place to start if you don't know what to read. Psalms or Proverbs are amazing to read, and they'll give you confidence and encouragement that I'm not smart enough to give. So I'm directing you somewhere else. Like, if you want encouragement, you can go there. So
that's the right place.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Well, thank you both so much for spending this time. This is just really enjoyable. I mean, enjoyable enough. I don't know. We're going to have to do this again because, yeah, we really appreciate you guys and appreciate your encouragement and voice to not only to the other youth and children in our church family, but to our whole church family, because we all need one another, whether we've been Christians for a year, 2, or 50. We can speak amazing truth and reminders into one another's lives and be blessed by that. So we're super thankful for you. Thankful for you both, especially as your dads, and thankful to you for listening and for joining us today. So we will see you next time, and we will see you virtually on Sunday.